Something so peaceful about water, isn't there? Sitting out at a dock, clearing your head, or a lot of people go on vacation. They go see the ocean, and it does something to the spirit. I also think there's many malevolent spirits that try to constantly manipulate us and those around us. When they can't manipulate us, they use others to create unpleasant experiences for us. There's something about water that they don't like. KJ Osborne did a breakdown of the movie Mother with Jennifer Lawrence, and he focused on the symbology of it and how it was actually a story about God. It's a very blasphemous movie, because it just makes God look like he doesn't care. He's just an artist. He just wants to create, and the people that he's created in this world, he doesn't care about. He just moves on to the next thing. But in that movie, if you watch it, he's always trying to give his characters that are around him water all the time. You even meet Adam, like the first human Adam, or his representation of that, and he's always drinking, smoking cigarettes, and just sick, kind of living an unhealthy life, and God's always giving him water. The main character who represents God, he's always trying to give him water. Here, drink some water, and I found that, it's just something that I noticed in that movie. And so I wonder, in all that, whenever we decide to put other things into our body, what it does to us spiritually. Even sitting in an empty pool, not able to swim, waiting for it to fill up. It's still peaceful just to hear the hose running into the end of the pool. So I'm a new subscriber to this channel called Michele's Opinion. Someone had mentioned her just the other night. I want to say it was on one of Scarab's streams, and the first video that I watched by her was one called "Judge Not, Lest You Be Judged," and she had some pretty interesting stuff within that video. I encourage you all to go check it out. But she mentioned just briefly that whenever she takes a shower, she goes swimming or something like that, she used the word download. And I understood exactly what she meant. If you've seen the video that I made about Madeline and God revealing certain things to me, things have been revealed to me at horrible times when I was going through really bad stuff. But things were also revealed to me when I was at peace. And I've mentioned it before. Sometimes just there's something about water, something about I would just, when all this chaotic stuff was going on, there was something about when I was in the shower and just I was receiving all this information from God. And when I got that story, or that promise, from the Father about Madeline, and he revealed to me specific, detailed information about her, and who she was, and what she actually, how we had interacted before and didn't realize that was the person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. It was when I was, showering, and so there's something about water that means more. It's of the Spirit. We get baptized in water, so on and so forth. You get it. Today's video is about alcohol. We thirst, we need water to live and survive, and things like alcohol and caffeine, they dehydrate us. They kind of take the water away. I'm making this video about alcohol because I've always said it's not something that I struggle with, but the enemy's pretty slick. And you put yourself in my shoes and you think, this is somebody who's used and abused and been addicted to many heavy drugs, the worst ones they're all the worst ones, but just hard stuff, and so with that on mind, I've always thought, well, I don't have an issue with alcohol. And because it's always something that I've had under control, but it's such a slippery slope. It's such a thin line between enjoying a glass of wine or a few beers and falling over into that. Now, it's just one glass away. And because I've always thought that it's something that I don't really struggle with, it's something that I have control over, it's been in those very moments of I just want a little bit more, I enjoy this feeling, that I fell into a state of drunkenness. The Father tells us to be sober-minded. The devil, roams around like a prowling lion, seeking who he may devour. And it's in those very moments when I want just another glass. It's when I seem to miss something that the Father's trying to reveal to me. It seems that that's when, just a small step in the enemy's plan is activated in that very moment. And I'm not saying things get chaotic, but these tiny little things could be altering my world in a giant way, and I don't even notice it. The reason I'm making this is that happened the other night. Those of you that were on Scarab's channel and got to see the live stream, he allowed me to come on and talk for a little while, and I enjoyed it. Thank you, Scarab and Ron. But I was having a little bit of wine right after that, and those of you that watched it know that I said I met a man in the grocery store that I was talking to about the Mandela effect, and I asked for prayer because I was going to be going to this church, which is a Baptist church. They have Sunday school, which means it's interactive. Most Sunday schools, they ask questions, and everybody in the room is allowed to give their input. And I was going to go in there and try and, talk about some of these things, that the Mandela effect, the Bible changes, stuff like that. And it was because I had just one more glass of wine that I forgot to set my alarm. And I didn't wake up until 10:59 a.m. this morning. So I missed it. I didn't go to that church. And it made me so agitated, because I think that I don't struggle with it, that I have complete control over it. In that very moment, these are people's souls at stake. And I'm talking to myself when I say this, but, like, we are at war. Like, come on, It's so easy to be at peace and walk in the love of God and get wrapped up in my own little world, which I'm not, just exuberantly happy about, but there's nothing like completely depressing. It seems like there's a spirit of just be comfortable with the minimum of things. I mean, I think I would be happy even if I had less because I have a relationship with God. But the point is that it's very easy to forget that there are others that don't have the knowledge that I have. We get so discouraged by spending a lot of effort trying to wake people up. And in that, I found a lot of times it was people working for the adversary that were allowing me to exhaust myself, but not really gain any ground, because they knew what was going on, but they're playing dumb. However, the man that I had that conversation with the other night, I don't think he's one of them. He was interested, and I came on the show and I asked for prayer because I was going to this place, and I was hoping that I was at least going to, put the information out there, and because of a consumption of a small amount of alcohol, didn't set my alarm, didn't wake up, and now it's been postponed. And I wonder now that it's been postponed if the enemy will be trying his hardest to shift things on those children of God in that place. Whether it's to keep them from going to church next weekend, or it's to put them in a bad mood, or put them, just many different tools, but to put them in a position where even if I get there and I explain these things, that their hearts aren't humbled, that they completely reject it right away, or they're just not in the mood of to hear it, and how dare me ask for prayer, because I'm going to go to this place and I need spiritual strength, and drink a third glass of wine and get in a drunken stupor, go to sleep, and all that falls apart. I was thinking of making this video anyway, because when I was shopping the other day getting my food, I was looking at all the wine glasses. I enjoy wine. It's not something that I abuse, but I did. It's the abuse isn't getting tore up drunk falling on the floor. Apparently, it's just not sober. And there was a video that I watched probably a year ago as I was waking up by a guy who runs a channel called Lifting the Veil. And his video on alcohol specifically is pretty amazing. I really like the way that he puts it into words. I encourage you to check it out. I'll leave a link to it. But the reason that I wanted to make this video before all this stuff happened, before I myself faltered, was because of all the images that I noticed as I was shopping for wine. Now, we know the power of words, and that just writing a word on a container and placing food in it has an effect on that substance. The words you say to food in a container has an effect on that substance. It's still going on with my tomato plants. They're huge compared to the others. Before what happened to me just the other night, where I fell asleep, happened, I was shopping for my food, like I said, shopping for a bottle of wine, just looking around. Had some free time, just kind of looking at all the different labels and stuff. And that's why I bring up the power of words again in the rice experiment. And so I'm going to disappear and narrate some pictures that I took, because I'm going through there. I've just witnessed to this man. He invited me to church, and I'm getting done with all my grocery shopping, and I think I'd already picked out the bottle of wine that I wanted, and I was just looking at the rest of them, some of the others. I don't really enjoy white wine, sweet wine, but I'm looking at all these different bottles and seeing the labels on them, and what they're actually titled. And so I'm not sure what the entire point to this thing is or where it's even going, but I'm going to show you some pictures and let you be the judge of whatever it means. But we're absolutely in a state of spiritual warfare. And again, I think the enemy is trying to compound it by using lesser magic, by using images, by using names and placing them on bottles, so that the spirits that are already in them will be given strength. That it will be much easier for whatever they're trying to accomplish. And you'll see what I'm talking about. So please enjoy, be mindful, test every spirit. So I'm going to start this off with a bottle called Project Paso. And I was just curious while walking down the aisles and taking pictures of all these cryptic bottles of wine. And I wanted to know what Paso meant. So I took a picture of it to see, what it translated to later when I got home. And it turns out that it means he passed. It's speculative, I know, and much of the evidence of the actual lesser magics that I'm talking about, them writing on the bottle, will become more and more evident as we move on. But it just made me wonder, the project he passed, like who is he? What does it mean? Again, that's kind of light. You could go in a ton of different directions with it, but it just kind of made me think. And so I started off when I was walking around with this bottle right here called L'America. I thought it was kind of funny because it just made me think of America. But it also had a star of Ishtar on it. And as I was researching the bottles, I found this article right here that was written about the story of a guy named Sinclair, who supposedly found America before Christopher Columbus did. He was a Scottish nobleman named Henry Sinclair, and that it was the star called L'America that he followed in his quest. The name L'America was probably derived from the symbol of the Babylonian goddess Ishtar, and it was this star that guided Sinclair to the New World. And obviously, I don't really need to go further. The whole Babylonian thing, Ishtar, the stars right there on the front of it, it's just, like I said, it's lesser magic. There are things being placed, symbols on bottles that we just pick up and go, man, that's a good wine. And they're strengthening whatever these so-called, spirits are that we put into our body without thinking of it. The second one was an interesting bottle called Jacob's Creek. As you could see, it has the duality, the two different worlds, one above, so below, complete opposite of each other. There's various differences, but the symbolism in this one is pretty obvious as well. Right next to it, when I was full of demons, I had even, tried this bottle because it was called the Seven Deadly Sins, with the very seven deadly sins listed on the front of the bottle, with the halo right above the number 7. 7 is a magical number used in the occult, lucky number 7, old number 7. It's used constantly as something in the occult. It means power, or it's given power by those that believe in it, I guess. And I'm here to say the only thing to stop, someone from slapping a 7, over a building that you walk through is Jesus. So it's not something to worry about. But again, I'm just giving you examples that are right in front of our face. This one is obvious. The others you kind of have to look through. Here's another one called Lost Angel. You can see the angel, chasing the grapes in the vineyard. He almost, you can argue that he's swooping down, but it looks as if he's falling. But obviously, to have a name like Lost Angel, it could either be considered blasphemous, or it has some, malevolent meaning to it. It's not Happy Angel or anything like that, but it's an angel chasing a grapevine. Here on the Casero del Diablo, I had previously recorded a little bit about it as I was looking it up. So check this little story out that I read on their website, and I found it, interesting.
A long time ago, a ship set sail from Bordeaux, France, in an age when the vast empty ocean and silent, soaring seabirds were the only witnesses to the precious vines the voyage carried. And on touching this land, the grapes were turned into a mysterious wine that in time would become a magical legend. Wines were kept under lock and key, although they mysteriously kept disappearing from the cellar. So more than 100 years ago, he devised a plan to put an end to the thefts. He spread a rumor that the devil lived in his cellar. They said the rumor spread like wildfire. Many claimed to have seen the devil with their own eyes, and before long everyone trembled with fear. No one was ever able to confirm the existence of his cellar guardian. Now the legend lives on. This website for the Casero del Diablo website doesn't say who he is, but it has an icon of the devil in the top left-hand corner as it's telling the legend, and I found that interesting.
The original dark horse, and a dark horse is defined as someone that is up against competition or something, and they're expected to lose. They're not expected to overcome what's going on, whatever they're up against. But there's got to be more to it. Katy Perry made a song called Dark Horse. As you can see in the picture here, it was full of Egyptian symbolism, and she was supposed to be some Egyptian empress in the video, and basically stealing the souls of the men that wanted to be with her, like a succubus. And so again, there's something here. I don't know exactly, what that refers to in the occult, but they got singers singing about it in mainstream, hip hop, and there's something to that. Menage a trios, menage a trois, with the name Decadence right on the bottle. And as you can see, the two symbols of whatever those little, flaming demon looking things are, it's obviously supposed to symbolize a threesome, but strangely enough, there is nothing in the middle, which would mean that there's some other entity. And I've tried to look at this symbol and see, maybe something in the outline of it, and I can't quite make it out to say, oh, it's definitely this, or it looks like that. but there's obviously a symbol there with they could argue, well, it's with you, the person drinking it. They have the two, spirits, and you're having a threesome with them as you drink this, into your body. But I'm pretty sure that there's probably a third spirit that you can't see. Rex Goliath, the legend, this giant rooster decked out and adorned with gold medals. His name's Goliath. The symbolism there is pretty obvious, but just another interesting thing that I found. Simply naked, and not so much, but it just, I don't know, when I saw it and I'm walking around on the wine aisle, it made me think of the fruit in the garden. Adam and Eve were naked. But I do remember reading somewhere, and I can't remember which book it was, whether it was, in the Gnostic Gospels, or whether it was in, I don't think it was in Joshua or Jubilees, but that, one of them said that they cursed the vine because the vine was supposed to be the fruit, that Adam and Eve partook in. I don't think it was that simple, but I'm just saying I did, read that somewhere. I don't think that that's the answer, but the bottle just reminded me that it reminded me of simply naked, being naked in the garden, the fruit of the vine, the fruit of the tree. Next to that, we have a bottle called Cryptic, and I found, interestingly enough, as I was looking at all this stuff that's written backwards, as if it's mirrored into our world and into the other one. The words are written backwards, but the numbers are written facing us. And as you count the Roman numerals, you see that the number 4 is the old number 4. It is not Mandela affected. So there's a little bit of residual evidence, but I just, it's obvious. It says Cryptic. With wine and desire, anything is possible. And notice the tiny little stars of Ishtar once again above in the top left-hand corner. Next was this wine called Bogle. I honestly took a picture of this because the tree looked pretty demented, and I was like, there's got to be something to this. It said old vine. It kind of reminded me of the roots in the show Stranger Things. And when I looked up the word Bogle, it is defined as a phantom or a goblin. And so there you go. Do you really want to be drinking a goblin? Next to that, Ravenswood. There's the 3 ravens making the magic circle. They're all holding each other. You could read into that for days, but you basically see what's going on. Now here is where it gets interesting, because I noticed these wine glasses, and it's a whole brand of them, as you'll see, and the name of it is Prophecy, and I took a picture of it. I knew there was symbolism in it, but when I looked at this first bottle that I took a picture of, I said, that looks like the lovers on the tarot card, and I'm looking at it, and sure enough, as I'm doing my editing, and you'll see in a minute where how this is making a connection, but it's absolutely connected to the tarot. That's what they were going for when they made the labels for their different types for their brand. I know it's not quite as obvious on this first tarot card. They're a lot closer. They're holding each other, but notice one tree is full of flames over the male, and over the female there's fruit, and you can see the snake underneath her feet, or at least a piece of it, and so your symbolism is very close on that, but it gets much more obvious. On this version of their prophecy bottle, this is the Fool, and you'll see there's the dogs. You can also see the duality of the 2 different worlds. You notice there's black mountains in the background with the moon, not in the sky but on the mountain, but he's walking on a kind of a golden mountain, and the dogs are jumping up at him to warn him. While he has his head in the clouds, he's actually about to walk off a cliff, as you see on the tarot card. Flower in the hand, he's carrying like a hobo thing and dressed up as a jester, while the dog is trying to warn him that he's about to step off of a cliff. So it gets way more obvious whenever we keep going. I looked at this one and I said that's obviously the Empress. And sure enough, and notice she has a snake on her head. And if you look at the black and white pillars that are underneath her, while she has a scroll rolled up in her hand, and you look it up on the tarot card, you have the black and white pillars, Boaz and Jakin, or Joke, whatever the guy's name is, and she's holding a scroll. And she doesn't have a snake on her head on the tarot card, but it's pretty obvious that that's what they're going for. And notice on the bottle the mirroring effect, as if there's more smaller versions of her that gets down to the lock that's supposed to open something. The very next one, this would represent the star. You see again the star of Ishtar all over the place, but notice how in one hand she's pouring into a lake, and in the next hand, right above a house, she's pouring, and it's making rivers out of her hidden hand, basically. And as you see on the tarot card, it's the exact same thing. The star of Ishtar above her, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, the number of stars don't match exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, yeah. The stars match exactly. The number of stars that are on the tarot card and the number of stars that are on the wine bottle match precisely. And so I'm just saying, whatever all this is, whatever it means, whatever it represents, to the people that are creating it, to the people that actually spend time designing their own unique bottle, there seems to be some sort of synchronicity, across the board, that these companies are using lesser magic to strengthen something. Maybe it's what's required in this day and age, to be in the beast system. Obviously, we see it all over the place, but it was so evident, to me, and for me to have that experience the other evening, because I don't have any problems with alcohol. I've never lost a job over it or anything like that. But then to, in that, when I woke up the next morning and I noticed that, I didn't set my alarm and I didn't go to church. I didn't get to have that conversation with those people that I wanted to. It is a problem, It's not destroying my life, but again, I have to remind myself, we are at war, and there are other people's souls at stake here. And if it's, if I'm not going to be the one to at least try and wake them up, even if they reject it, then what am I doing, And so I hope all this helps. I'm just, sharing my experience and everything I saw with the wine. I hope you gained something from it. God bless. Have a good day.
Take me by the hand. Can you use me as I am? Break me into who you want me to be. When the time is finally right, will you open up my eyes? Show me everything you want me to see. This life is not mine.